Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Korolov, and I'm the editor of MetaStellar. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, MetaStellar is a magazine that publishes original science fiction, fantasy, and horror. We also publish essays, book reviews, excerpts, reprints, and lots of other content of interest to fans of speculative fiction. We launched last year, right in the middle of the pandemic. And since then, we've had more than 700 contributed stories and articles, published more than 200 of them, and have had nearly 40,000 page views. Have had way more than 40,000 page views. That note is out of date. We are run completely by volunteers, and we're able to pay for original fiction thanks to the generous contribution of our supporters. The link to the Patreon page is in the description below. If you like this kind of content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below. And if you stick around until the end, I'll talk a little bit about how you can join our community of writers, essay writers, and reviewers. That should be like fiction writers, essay writers, and reviewers. But anyway, moving on. I'm here to talk about an article I wrote recently in which I looked at dozens and dozens of really good author websites and really bad author websites. And I picked around 50 of them to analyze in depth. And I've got a handful of them queued up, ready to show you, that are all modern, up-to-date, current, professional-looking websites. This is the best of the best. And all of these websites have 5 things in common. And I'm going to take you through those 5 things so that you can have a website that looks like that. And before I get started, these kind of websites do not have to cost a lot of money. Yes, you can pay a designer to do them, or you can use off-the-shelf themes and technologies and free blogging platforms to set up a website that looks very, very similar, as long as you keep some principles in mind. So let's get started. I'm going to share my internet screen with you guys so that you can see it over there. All right. So this is the article that I mentioned where I go through all these sites, and here's the link to 50 of them. And the first thing that these websites have in common is that they are responsive sites. So let's go to the first one. Ben Aronovich, one of my favorite authors. He writes the Rivers of London series. Wonderful books. And if you make this screen smaller or larger, as I'm doing now, which hopefully you can see this, the website automatically rearranges itself. And if you look at the little menu up top, the menu up top changes, the graphic size changes, the columns rearrange themselves, all sorts of stuff happens automatically. And this is called responsive design. And this is something that all the websites on my list all have. And you need to have this for your website because people read your website on mobile devices, or they might have lots of windows up on the screen. So you want your website to automatically resize itself and reflow the content so it looks good no matter what you're looking at it on. By comparison, let me pull up George R.R. Martin's website. I love George R.R. Martin, and the reason I'm picking on him is because he probably doesn't care less what I think about his website. He's laughing all the way to the bank. So, George, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to use your website as an example of what not to do. So this is an old-looking website, and one of the things it does is that it's not responsive. I mean, look what happens when I stretch the window. I mean, nothing happens. Nothing moves. Nothing changes. And if you try to visit this website on a cell phone, it's going to be like all shrunk. You have to zoom in and out to read any parts of it. It's a pain. It's a real pain. No reason to have this. You can get a free website that is responsive. Most current blogging platforms, including the free ones, all have responsiveness built in. If somebody's trying to sell you a website that doesn't do this and tries to convince you that you have to pay extra for this, they are lying. They are just flat out lying to you. Run away. You can't trust these guys to tell you anything about the internet. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the way that all these modern websites have wide horizontal sections, like these panels that go across. So if you look at George R. Martin's website, he's got columns going on in little squares everywhere, which was very common to websites of about 10 years ago. Now we have like Ben Aronovich. He's got that little flat thing across here, another panel here with all his books, and a little panel at the bottom for his the sign up to the newsletter and his footer. Here is Terry Pratchett's website. You know, if you think that only like hip young authors like Ben Aronovich can have a hot website, no, even like old fantasy authors who've passed away like Terry Pratchett can have websites like this. His website is also responsive. It automatically resizes itself as you move around, like every good website should. And he's got these panels. Look at his horizontal panel, the book of the month. He's got another panel here, a little quote generator panel, another panel for the books, and down at the bottom, there's the footer. Let's go to Ilona Andrews. I love her books. They're urban fantasy with lots of magic. Again, responsive. I'm not going to bother to show you the responsiveness. Again, horizontal panels. Look at all those panels she has. Oh, they just go on and on. Wonderful looking website. Catherine Arden has similar website, responsive, horizontal panels. Pierce Brown, he's got little horizontal panels going on here. Look at those. This is James S.A. Corey, who does the Expanse books, which I love. Awesome books. He's got the panels. He's got a little bit of a triangle thing going on, but basically it's the same basic idea, is that he's got these horizontal panels, each one with a different topic, different background color, little bit of, he's got some animations going on here. So this website had some nice design work done on it. You might not be able to get that for free, but the general principle you should be able to duplicate. This is Diane Duane, who writes fantasy. Again, horizontal panels, different colors, backgrounds, a little bit of an animation slideshow here. Oh, the slideshows you can get for free. Definitely something to keep an eye out for when you pick a platform. Here is Dean Koontz. Very simple. Again, the same kind of horizontal panels, different background colors on the panels. He kind of alternates light and dark. Mary Robinette Cowell, who writes the Lady Astronaut series. And Mary, if I'm mispronouncing your name, I really apologize. She's won Hugos and Nebulas for her books. She is an awesome writer, former head of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association. She's just like a hero of mine. And look at this site. Again, responsive site. I don't even have to do this, but you know, just they all do this. Every website that looks modern is going to be responsive. And again, she's got these panels, alternating colors, bold, bright, perfect website. And here's Ann Leckie, another one of my favorite authors. She writes fantasy and science fiction. And again, she's got these panels, alternating colors, little bit of animation going on, and then look at George R. R. Martin. I mean, all right. So the other thing that all these websites have in common is they do not have sidebars. And I mentioned this already. Every old website is going to have a sidebar. Every new website is not going to have a sidebar. This is like a big, okay. Okay, Ben Aronovich has a sidebar. I just realized this. So I'm lying to you. But his sidebar looks like, I don't think the hit sidebar was here when I looked at this last. And it looks like it's not finished because it just says moments, moments one, moments two, moments three. I think somebody might be playing around with his website design and stuck a sidebar in there. But nobody else has sidebars. So no sidebars anywhere. So here there's this isn't a sidebar, it's more of a blocks of text. Goodreads and Instagram, the, the link to the Instagram is broken, so they need to fix that. Which you know goes to show that even the best, most successful writers who probably have good money to spend on this sometimes don't have perfect websites. So your website doesn't have to be perfect either. No sidebar here, no sidebar here, and none of the other ones have sidebars either. And finally, I want to mention that all of these websites are really high impact. They have bold letters and they have high contrast colors and they have bold colors. So by high contrast, I mean that it's white text on a very, very dark background, or white background with very, very dark text. That is how you get contrast. By comparison, if you look at George R. R. Martin, he's got blue text on a gray background. Here's more gray text, light gray text on a dark gray background, light purple text on a dark purple background. This is not a very impactful. It's not very bold. If you look at websites that were done like a while ago, they will often be much more muted than today's websites. So we've got, again, high contrast, white text on a very dark background, bright colors, black on white for things that are like really important, that you really want to stand out. And the body text is dark text on a very light background, because anything else is going to be harder to read. So again, same thing with James Corey. And if you look through to his text, again, it's dark text on a white background. Let's look for a page that has more stuff on it. And again, black and white. Black and white is very, very readable. This is an internal page, and he's got, you know, some sidebars and other stuff on here. And you can immediately tell it looks older. That this is actually a page from the Orbit Books website. And it looks like an older kind of corporate website. It doesn't look like his homepage, right? So yeah, you can tell just by looking at it that, you know, it's a little old, it's a little dated. Dean Koontz, bright colors, lots of contrast, makes a big punch. And finally, the one thing that all these websites have in common, not just these that I picked out, but like all 50 that I looked at, and nearly every website out there today, it's a WordPress website. WordPress accounts, like right now, I have this figure in here. WordCase accounts for 2/3 of all websites that have management systems. So the rest are like raw HTML or corporate sites that are, you know, that they build through their own whatevers, or the data, plain data sites, right? WordPress is the #1 platform out there. It just rules. So not Wix, not Squarespace, not Drupal, not Joomla. They all are in the single digits or less. It makes a really big difference when you are in WordPress. So you can get a free website from WordPress at wordpress.com. You can get a paid WordPress website if you upgrade to a premium service, which gives you your own domain name. It starts at like $8 a month. And you get like tons of themes that you pick and you just start doing. Some people will complain that, well, if you go with WordPress, your website will look like all the other WordPress websites out there. That couldn't be further from the truth. Old websites all look alike. They look dated, they look old. Modern websites are bold. They're different. They have some design elements in common, but they also have a lot of differences in common. The authors chose different fonts, different colors, different images. They have embedded videos. They have slideshows. There's a lot of stuff you can play with that WordPress offers to you automatically. I mean, there's a reason why everybody uses WordPress. The largest media sites all use WordPress. Small bloggers use WordPress. MetaStellar is a WordPress site. There's platforms that will spend a lot of money on advertising, like Squarespace and Wix and so forth. WordPress doesn't advertise because it's a nonprofit. It's WordPress.org. It's fully open source. And also, they don't have to advertise because they're so good. Like I said, 2/3 of all websites that use content management systems use WordPress. So if you're setting up a website, what I recommend is that you go to wordpress.com, set up a free account, play around with it, upload a theme. I'm going to be posting an article later on where I walk you through that whole process and suggest some themes you can use, free themes, that will get you a website that looks like one of these. And I will talk about how you can configure it so that it looks the way you want it to look. Is it worth learning how to do it? I personally say yes, because I love playing with this stuff. If you don't love playing with this stuff, you can hire somebody to do it very cheaply, because WordPress is a standard. So every freelance designer knows WordPress. You can go on Fiverr or freelancer.com and hire somebody. And what I recommend that you do is you tell them you want a WordPress site, you want to use WordPress.com. Here's your domain. These are the pictures you want to use. This is the theme you want to use, where you pick out the theme ahead of time. And I'm going to talk about later on. I'm going to talk about how to pick out a theme, where to find pictures for your website, nice editing software that you can use if you want to do, by yourself. And so yeah, I've been doing this for, I've been building websites for more than 20 years now. And at the start, it was hand-coded HTML, and then it was Dreamweaver, and then there was WordPress and PHP. And I've used pretty much all the website platforms out there. And yeah, so yeah, now you know. All right. So before we go, I promised to tell you guys about volunteer opportunities. So MetaStellar is run fully by volunteers. That might change someday. Maybe if we grow, we can start paying our copy editors. But right now, it's fully volunteer-based. The money that we raise through direct donations and the Patreon supporters all goes to pay for original speculative fiction. Right now, we have 2 rounds of submissions a year in the spring and in the fall, where we accept new original fiction. But we also run reprints throughout the year. We don't pay for reprints, but we can run a lot more of them because we don't have a budget constraints there. So if your story has been printed somewhere else before, even if it was printed just on your website, we can publish a reprint. And the links to the submission pages are going to be below. We're also looking for people to write essays and to write book reviews, movie reviews, and video game reviews, and to help out with the show. So if you'd like to be a guest host or a guest, absolutely follow the link to our volunteer page below, or you can email me directly at maria@metastellar.com or leave a comment. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.